listening to Somos Hollywood, a podcast where Latinos in film and TV talk about their recent projects and the ongoing fight for more inclusion in the industry. I mean, we're already here, and we're not going anywhere. So yeah, apúrense. We are ready. We are talented. We are Hollywood. Somos Hollywood.
Kira, thank you very much for taking the time. I really appreciate it, and congratulations on Best Eyes. I saw it a couple of days ago, and I have to say it was just a very touching film. I'm not biracial myself, but I could feel the pain that you were in, the uncertainty of where your life was going. So congratulations. It was just a really beautiful piece.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So before we get into the film itself, you grew up in Boston. So how did that kind of impact you as a biracial child growing up in, I'm guessing the city's pretty white, right?
No, no. So
Oh,
the thing about Boston is that it's very segregated.
oh, I see.
Yeah, and I know it's come a long way now, but still, it's one of the most segregated cities for being like such a progressive city. It's really like for people to hear that they're like, wait, what? But it has a lot of issues. It's like very deep and rooted in
Mm,
like, racial tension.
right, right.
So the neighborhoods are like, yeah, pretty segregated by race. So that's what really like amplifies somebody who's like biracial and also where they're living is separated. So you're like,
Mm,
wait, I'm here and you're there. So for me, I was raised in a predominantly Black and Afro-Latina area.
hmm
And the other neighborhoods can be like predominantly white. That's mainly the main racial composition of Boston, but
hmm
obviously there's like Asians and other races. But the neighborhoods that were white were very, very predominantly white. And you
mm.
can also just it's different in terms of like social class too. You can have very like a working class neighborhood that's predominantly white.
So
And
you
then
went
you
to
can,
school with mostly Black kids and Black Afro-Latino kids, correct?
no, so I wasn't going to school in my neighborhood.
So
And
that's
that's
okay,
what inspired this
right.
story. It's like somebody who's taken from a neighborhood that's like predominantly minority, but the good schools,
Right.
are far away from the neighborhood. So it's predominantly white.
What was your parents' thought process in doing this? I mean, have you talked to them about that?
I think it's just it's like a Boston thing. Like you want your kid, it's like education is so like enforced. Like it's not just an opportunity that the white kids get. It's like
Mhm.
everybody is encouraged to take those opportunities. But the thing that's the problem is that the good schools are in neighborhoods that are predominantly white and far from the neighborhoods that the kids are growing up in. So it was always like, okay, I'm going to work hard and get good grades and do what I need to do in order to get to the good schools that are far away from
Mhm.
where I live.
And you,
So that's always my mindset and
so
my
you
parents.
understood everything that was going on even as a child, like the the idea that you were living in a neighborhood that didn't provide the type of opportunities educationally that you wanted, and that you're going to another school with.
Yeah, I was very aware of that. And it was always the goal to be over there and like them. So it's like where I am here is not enough, and I need to get out of here so I can get over there. And that's the accomplishment that like many kids have in their minds.
Did you like the young lady in this movie? Did you push away friends in your neighborhood?
Um, yes, I did. It was more like it wasn't like completely conscious,
Hmm
but it was like what I was influenced by and what I saw around me. And it was like, oh, well, I'm not going to be hanging out with the kids in this neighborhood because then I could, end up like a lot of the kids that ended up that were raised in my neighborhood. And I had that kind of awareness even as a young child that there's certain types of people that I needed to surround myself with in order to achieve what I needed to achieve in life. So I think it was more just like ingrained in me, like who I needed to stay away from and who I needed to befriend. I did have a friend in my neighborhood that went to my middle school, but then it kind of just like it split off and we veered ways after that. I felt like I wanted to get to a certain point, like to reach the really good schools that are far away from my neighborhood. And so like parts of that, like that kind of like internal conflict in
Hmm.
me is what um, blossomed into this story.
Yeah. Do you feel that you missed out on anything? Kind of um, moving away from those friendships that could have formed in your neighborhood, or do you think that, you received what you needed from the private school and those people
No, like
surrounding you?
yeah, so that's what it is. Like I do feel like yeah, I lost touch of big parts of myself. And I didn't know it at the time,
Mhm.
but when you like grow older and you're just like, wait a second, like I pushed far from who I was really to fit a certain mold and who I felt like I needed to be.
Right.
And I, yeah, I felt like I wasn't my full self. And if I did, be befriend more of the kids in my neighborhood and really just like immerse myself a little bit more. I felt like I would know who a part of myself and who I am, but it just felt so conflicted. There were like different parts of myself. And
Mm,
my mother as well. It's like Rosa's based a lot on my mom and other moms that I know
right.
um, just wanted really in their mindset like to protect their children. So you don't go out in neighborhoods like they felt like were unsafe. But in doing so, it's like, oh, but you're not like immersing your children in their culture and growing in the confidence in who they are,
Mm,
because it's that whole assimilation mindset that like, pushes them to, protect their children in a way by making them assimilate with, the kids and the
right.
people that they deem are safer and more accepted in the society.
In the film, Olivia, it was interesting. Olivia refers to herself as white when she first meets the friend at the bus stop. Did you ever do that in real life?
Um, I did. Like when I was really young, I think I was in elementary school. And I didn't remember this until like later in life. It was like really weird. It was like a memory that just came up.
Right.
And I went through this whole like time of my life where I was identifying as white
Hmm.
and even like telling the kids at school that I was white. And I was always just like immersing myself with the white kids at my school. And my elementary school was pretty mixed because it
Hmm.
was closer to where I was living before I went off to high school. And so in my elementary school, there was a time where I was like, really thinking, or I think it was more just like wanting to be so much that I like convinced myself that.
Mm,
And also because I was like, my mom was an immigrant, but her complexion, a Latina immigrant, complexion was like very light.
okay.
And to her, where she comes from, like race and skin color kind of go like to her like it's more about like the color of your skin than your race. And for me, I was also light skinned, so it was like how can I identify who I am like if I'm light? So I didn't know how to match like skin color with my race. So
Mm,
it was like my mom had passed that down to me. Um, and so it was like very confusing for me
yeah.
because I didn't know what race was and people were categorizing others. And to me, I was just like, well, I'm everything in white.
Exactly. Was there a moment in time during your life where you realized that you wanted to embrace your Black Latina identity more? I mean, was there something that just kind of a switch that turned on, or something that you saw, something that you experienced?
Yeah, I think like just growing older, like going through those those really hard times when you're like 13 and 14 trying to figure out who you are. I think even like when I was younger, I was pushing away from my Latina culture too.
Mm.
Like I wasn't speaking Spanish at home, and my mom would always tell us that to speak Spanish, and my brothers and I were very like rebellious against that. And then, she was like, okay, then Saturdays are for speaking Spanish. It was like it had to be like put it on us. But then as I grew older, like I felt like I wanted to, yeah, tap into more of my Latin roots and my Black roots.
Hmm.
And they came at like different times of my life. First, it was like my Latin roots because I felt culturally closer to that because my mom is like a very like a big presence in the household, and my household felt very Ecuadorian. And
Hmm.
so as I grew older, it was like, okay, yeah, let me, even though the outside people didn't see me as Latina first, that's what I was getting. Like people would see me as Black first.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, but I am also Latina. And I felt like a part of me needed to prove that because I didn't speak Spanish. So I was going through that struggle and like, okay, I need to learn Spanish because then people will see me as Latina. And, it wasn't until I got much older that I realized that's not important. Like, I don't need to speak Spanish to convince people what I am. And like, just being who I am and confident in that. And with my blackness, of course, like I would straighten my hair all the time growing up, just trying to like fit in with others' expectations of me and who I am. And I let out my hair. I had this like natural hair movement and just being confident in like who I am and not trying to hide any parts of myself. And
Hmm.
hair was like one of the biggest identifying factors of my like Afro descent. And it was like, why am I hiding that?
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, so I went through that a little bit later in life. And yeah, it was just like it came at different times, but it was like piece by piece, little by little, until now I'm my whole person. And it's crazy to look back at like where it all started
Right.
and where I am today. But it is a
I
journey.
bet.
That yeah, a lot of like biracial kids and Afro-Latina, which is a very like specific, unique experience here in the United States. But it's like it's kind of isolating because I didn't know a lot of other half Black, half Latinos growing up. So it was like me and my brothers trying to figure this out
Right, in your
together.
little circle, definitely.
Yeah.
The title of your film reminded me, of course, of Chris Rock's documentary, Good Hair, right? Best Eyes. Was that kind of the idea that you always had when you were little, that the girls with the blue eyes or the green eyes or the colored eyes were, kind of like at the top of the pyramid almost?
Um, Kind of. I mean, it's more like metaphorical. I don't know
Okay.
if you read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, but it
Hmm.
is that kind of like trying to achieve like the white standard of beauty.
Right.
And for Olivia, like that, she's using those blue contacts like in the film that her mom gives her. It's like, oh, okay, this is a way for you to feel safe and accepted within your peer group. So you can see it both as like a physical, like, yeah, beauty, blue eyes is better. But it's also to see, it's like Olivia wants to be seen for who she is. And when she has the blue eyes, it's like a mask that she's covering. And when she's like without the eyes, it's like her full self and her authentic self that she's finally letting people see. Um, and I think like for me, I think the blue can equate to like white, which equates to like, oh yes, this is, the dominant group that I'm trying to be a part of.
Mm.
So I know in the short it's like one little segment
Right.
of of the film, but this is a proof of concept for
Right.
a feature. So like in the feature, the eyes are more like predominant, and she's actually trying to like win a best eyes superlative in her middle school with fake contacts.
Hey,
And
I
that's
didn't even I didn't even think about that. That was the thing back in high school, right? You win best eyes at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. So
And who would
she,
always win best eyes? It would be the
yeah,
like, wait a minute.
right. It's like, oh, but these are actually fake. But she wants to like get recognition for being fake, but not like, it's like she's not authentic yet and being like, okay, well, maybe people will like me more if I'm not myself. Um, and yeah, it's like it's a really hard time as we all been through that time, but it's like, oh, how is it even like very different and unique when you're biracial?
Right.
And it's like you don't just have to, you're not just trying to belong, you're trying to figure out like your identity and like who you are and like how
Mhm.
others see you. And there's like all sorts of things going on for girls of color that I don't feel like there are many films that tap into that. And
Yeah.
such like yeah, it's a painful, a very isolating, but also like freeing when we talk about it.
Yeah. Now, what I'm most excited about this becoming a feature film is the relationship between the two young girls, because when they had that confrontation in the grocery store, I think as a feature film, I think you're really gonna feel that, right? Uh,
Hmm.
if you build in a feature film, you're gonna be able to build that relationship up so much where it's gonna almost feel like they're sisters, right? I don't think it was impossible to do that in 15 minutes. So
Right. Yeah, yeah.
when she pushes her away in the feature film, I think that's gonna be a gut punch.
Yeah, like because yeah, in a short film it was kind of hard to like show their friendship journey. I
Right.
mean, we like the montages and stuff that I had there, but yeah, in the feature their relationship is developed more and
Yeah.
you see like Olivia being more of her true self come out when she's with Shay as opposed to like when she's at school or even at home she's hiding. She's hiding everywhere but with Shay. And to have that moment of betrayal is just like
Yeah.
pretty awful. And it's like blindsiding to Shay, like, where is this, all coming from? But it's all such a buildup in Olivia and Olivia's life. That's such a secret. Like nobody knows really she's struggling with this. And in the feature, she hides the contacts, the blue contacts from Shay, and she also hides them from her family, like at home. So the only people that see her with blue eyes are at school.
Right. Right.
So it's kind of like showing how she's like hiding herself at
Right.
home and in her neighborhood and how she's trying to be like other people when she's at her school environment.
Just a couple more questions, Kira, but as a filmmaker moving forward, do you think it's important for yourself to say something in a film that's deeper than just the narrative that presented on the page? Like, are you going to be the type of filmmaker that really wants to make a point to be a little bit deeper in terms of, the story that you're telling?
Yeah, I mean, directing this was it's different than what's on the page. For
Mm.
me, it was really important the characters. This is about Olivia, so she's a central character in this story. So for me, it was really important for the actor to be able to have these feelings and thoughts, and for the camera to be able to capture that and for it not to be loud because it's really a quiet
Right.
film. It's a quiet unraveling of this girl who's trying to figure out who she is. So for me, what's most important is that character work.
Mm.
And for us to see through Olivia's point of view and how she sees herself and what she sees and how the environment and everything is impacting her internally. And so it's not just about like the neighborhood and the school and, idealization of whiteness. But it's about how everything is affecting her. Like this is her point of view. This is her trying to figure herself out. So for me, that's the most important. And her relationship with her mother is very important. And how all of these like internalized racism and generational traumas are like passed down to her through its lineage, through family. And Olivia feels that. She feels that weight of like the generational grief and trauma and the weight of all that, but she doesn't have the words to really understand what's going on. And so as a filmmaker, it's like, how do you capture all of that without words? Like, what is
Mm.
she seeing and what is she feeling? And in the feature, I expand even more on that, like with, how Olivia sees the world through her
Mhm.
blue contacts
Right.
and her regular eyes as
Right.
well.
I'll make this my last question, but I'm interested
Yeah.
to know what your parents thought about this film and kind of realizing all these thoughts that were going on in your mind during that time and now looking back and thinking about it. What did they think when they saw it?
Yeah, well, actually, both my parents have passed
Okay. Sorry about that.
now, but yeah, my dad passed away a little early for me to have these kind of conversations with him, but
Mhm.
with my mom, I did. And from her point of view, it was like, oh, well, she was just really just trying to find a way to make life easier for me and my brothers, not have to, encounter all of this stuff that she saw as an immigrant coming here for the first time. And it's like all of it was new to her. Um, and for me, I've always like understood that mindset of hers. And so I thought that was like a huge part of the film is that relationship and seeing her point of view that's also coming from love and
Hmm.
how that can create tension. And I think that's like one of the most unique parts of this story. It's like the love and the tension. And and making sure not to villainize anybody. It's like when you show empathy and compassion coming from these other characters, especially when they're based on like family members who you love,
Right.
that's where the layering is. And yeah, like my mom knew I was going to, make this film and gave me ideas. And she was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, this, reminds me of us." I'm like, "Well, that's point. I'm glad." So yeah, I mean, it's like important conversations that you want to and need to have with your family that people don't talk about.
Right.
And I hope this film can help people see that and be like, oh, well, maybe it's okay for me to bring this up to like, my uncle or aunt and my mom or dad. It's just like we don't need to like keep these as like family secrets. A lot of us in like minority or biracial identity families go through things like this when we're trying to like figure ourselves out or have like mixed races within our families. It can complicate things.
Yeah.
And it's just important to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. I have a 13-year-old daughter right now, and she wears glasses. And then for the past month or so, I've started to see her not wearing her glasses going to school. So I asked her about it. And she's like, well, So I'm just waiting. I'm
Yeah.
waiting to see what happens after this. My wife and I are trying to figure out, is she too young to wear contacts? Now I'm thinking like, is she going to come to us and ask us for colored contacts, which
Uh-oh.
now I'm gonna have to think about those kind of things. But it's interesting to see how they're growing and I don't know what's going on in her head that glasses aren't cool anymore or she doesn't want to wear them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the whole fitting in stage of life when you're in school at that age. Yeah, you gotta watch them closely.
Hey, Kira, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And again, congratulations on Best Eyes. And we can't wait to watch the production of the feature start. And we'll look forward to speaking with you again.